Welcome to the Rainmaker Multiplier on Demand, a podcast for leading financial professionals, or rainmakers, and their teams that offer support for securing a successful future. From marketing help to staffing structure, listen and subscribe for actionable insights from advisors and skilled professionals alike.
Thanks everyone for joining us today for another coffee break. Our topic, lead generation ideas for YouTube and Facebook. These obviously two very popular and important platforms for both engagement and lead generation in our industry. So we want to make sure we're keeping everyone up to speed and sharing our best practices with everyone. With us today are two internal SMEs, Carrie Chadoff, head of C2P's marketing agency, and Erica Rivera, our C2P social media specialist. They're both leading the charge on these initiatives with C2P and many of our advisors. So thank you both for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Carrie, let's start with you. I guess before we even get into the ad side, the video portion of it for both YouTube and Facebook, why is video so important right now, especially in our industry?
Video is certainly one way to separate your message from others. Lots of people are writing blogs. Lots of people are putting together, I'll say, static Facebook ads. We'll talk about what's working in especially Facebook and some of the tests we're running on YouTube related to videos. I'm sure many of you go onto your own Facebook accounts and you realize you're watching more videos than you're actually reading updates. Facebook is certainly knowledgeable about consumer behavior, and they continue to serve reels and stories. And before I know it, I'm sucked into watching the next fight or martial arts move or karate move or some silly basketball shot or whatever the interest is. And all of a sudden, 20 minutes later, I realize I really haven't scrolled down. So consumer behavior is going more and more towards video. As it relates to financial services, I think video does a great job of simplifying complex financial topics, makes them more accessible, and specifically makes them more engaging. So think about as much as we love life insurance, sometimes watching a video and having someone present that opposed to reading paragraph after paragraph about the benefits of life insurance is probably more engaging. The other aspect is there's a lot of you running advertisements on we'll just say Facebook for now. So how do you separate yourself and create your own brand? Again, as you're presenting, someone gets to really know your true personality. It says, I like how they deliver. I like that person. It becomes a little bit closer. Again, there's a little bit more engagement. You've heard me talk about engaging content. And when people spend more time with a video, they are spending more time with you indirectly. And again, just consumer behavior, as I just talked about Facebook and serving videos, I have a stat. Video traffic is projected to rise 74% of total smartphone internet traffic by the end of 2024. So what does that mean? It means more and more people not only are searching, and I'll be honest with you, I'd probably spend, aside from work, on my personal, probably 20 to 1 in terms of ratio of phone to laptop looking at social media. When I'm sitting on the couch, don't tell my wife, but when we're having a conversation and I'm truly engaged, I may be checking the football score or something like that. The last point about video, another stat is viewers retain 95% of a message when the message is received via video. Conversely, just 10% of a message is retained when read in text. That is one of the reasons why you go to see a presenter. That's one of the reasons that perhaps you come to a coffee break is to actually hear and see somebody talk opposed to, I'll just read a transcript. And likely you're not reading that full transcript. Well, long answer, Matt, but video continues to blossom.
No, and I see that. I think the other thing that's related to what you just said too is when you're using video to communicate your message instead of just the copy, and obviously certainly there's a time and place for the imagery and the copy as well, but it showcases your personality. It allows them to put a face with the name and see who you are. People want to work with people they know and trust when they get a much better sense of that in a video versus just the written word. And so leveraging it that way. Have you seen that as well?
Absolutely. Even just follow some of our current advisors and Chamberlain in his videos. And again, that's a paid campaign. It doesn't really matter whether it's paid or organic, but the ones that stop you in the track are the videos that roll. So They're much more engaging. And again, you say, who am I working with? And in some of your cases, you've got experience and you look like you have experience. And that's a good thing for once. And so again, just the whole visual aspect, I think there's more of a human connection.
Yeah. And I know later on with you and Erica, we're going to get into like specifics and ideas and things like that. But for those that are doing video or considering it, maybe scared a little bit of it, it doesn't necessarily have to just be like this where you're recording on your computer. There are other forms of the video like recording snippets or examples of you showcasing something. I know Dave has showcased that before at collegiums or on webinars where he will show his screen and kind of draw within the bucket plan process. So there's even different forms of video that I know we're going to get into as we dive deeper into it. But don't let that scare you if you're like, I'm not the person that can just turn on my camera and start talking. It's okay. There's different ways to engage that. Erica, one thing that we talk about in a lot of our marketing webinars is getting the most out of the free, quote unquote free. We know nothing's free, but the free stuff, getting the most juice out of your squeeze for what you have, using your existing resources before you start spending money. So can you share some of that, especially for posting on YouTube, which might be newer to some or those that are doing it, maybe you're trying to figure that out, but some of the best practices that you have just for general posting of YouTube, even before getting into the ad side?
Yes, for sure. So when you're posting on YouTube and wanting to really get out there, you want that next thing that goes viral, you want to have something that is going to be eye-catching from the start. So with that being said, you want to start with your thumbnail. Think of how your thumbnail is going to look when people are scrolling. You want it to be relevant and eye-catching. Think of those Mr. Beast videos that we all see on YouTube because they're always on our For You page. They're bright. They catch your eye. You see someone's face immediately. Maybe they're making a smile. Maybe they're making a funny face. But then in that title, it's either a hard-hitting question that makes you wonder what that video is about, or it has relevant keywords that have to do with what the video is about. So with keywords, you want to focus on keeping your keywords consistent through your video. So if we're speaking, let's say, about retirement, very general, retirement is a general keyword. So you want to keep retirement in your thumbnail. You want to keep the word retirement in your title, and you want to sprinkle it throughout what the actual video is about. You want to keep saying the word retirement because when it comes to SEO, Google actually scans those words and it comes up when you're searching because YouTube is a Google product. So when you're thinking of keywords and what your actual story is going to be during your YouTube video, you want to make sure that it is consistent throughout your thumbnail, your title, and even your descriptions. So as we go deeper into this, speak of best practices, you want to also focus on your description. Your description is not only going to talk about the description of your video, but it's also going to contain other bits of information about you, your company, or anything that you want the viewer to know about. So within the description, you might also want to include time codes. Time codes are time frames where there is a really important topic. So let's say we're talking about something that you want the viewer to remember. So you put in that time code, 5 minutes and 2 seconds, and then you put a little tidbit of what that actual time code is about. So if we're talking about retirement, we're talking about taxes in retirement. So that's where you'll put the title, taxes in retirement.
And I'm glad you started too with the thumbnail too, because for those that, if you don't pick one, it's going to pick that automatically. So keeping an eye on that and what you use, because you got to think of that. It's like your billboard. When you have a billboard or a print ad, like you want something that's going to catch their attention before they even read it. It's like the initial sell. You got to sell them on watching the video before you even get into that. Erica, Carrie, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, to the thumbnail, or maybe even some that you know are doing it well that you've seen, or things within a thumbnail that you've seen particularly work well.
I definitely want to say I recommend, if you haven't already, look at Dave Allison's YouTube. The thumbnails are on point. They are great. They are relevant. They are engaging, and they do actually match keywords that are sprinkled throughout the video as well as the description. And when people see that, they may also comment on it. So if they comment on your thumbnail about the keyword, let's say retirement, make sure you're actually engaging with that comment as quickly as you can, because that engagement will bring them back to the next video.
I think there's an important element is just don't do a video and put it on YouTube and expect the field of dreams that they will come. You need to make this look professional and polished, just as if you were running an ad on Facebook. So think about that thumbnail again, probably only an inch by an inch or whatever the size is. Because if you do it randomly, as Matt was saying, sometimes seeing things with someone's eyes are closed or their mouth is open, And it diminishes from the value of the video even before someone starts it. We do that for our holistic podcast for JL Smith, and really spend more and more time thinking about what does it look like. And then, as Erica said, making sure that you're putting the right descriptions. There's a call to action, right? So if someone actually watches the video and they want to get in touch with you, or they want to see how do I learn more, and so make sure your URLs, your website is in there, your calendar link is in there. Worst comes to worst, they don't click on it. Best comes to best, they make an appointment out of that, right? And so you're not just doing this for awareness. This could be an effective lead generation. So treat it as a lead generation effort.
And although
Right.
it may sound a bit cheesy, make sure you say, be sure to like and subscribe at the end of the video. That call to action is extremely important.
For anyone that watches our weekly Monday morning cup of clarity, they hear us yelling to subscribe and smash that subscribe button below. We have a few questions in the chat. Thank you, Dustin, for jumping to answer. Are we allowed to have comments on now? For those with PCA, no, we are not allowed yet. That's something that obviously we're going to try and work through down the line. But for right now, no. For Erica and Carrie, what is the best software to use for creating a customized thumbnail?
So what I would think is if you want to start off just starting to create these organic YouTube videos, don't go for the biggest and baddest and most costly productions. What you want to do is start off small, start testing things. So what's great is a free service. Why not start with the cheapest option possible? Start with Canva. Canva has all of these templates that you can use. They have many different colors. You can even upload your own hex codes for your brand. So that's the colors that are in your logo. You can upload your own individual fonts, and then you can also build from there. So if you want to create a YouTube thumbnail, when you create the size of your image, you can actually type in YouTube thumbnail and it will create the exact pixel size for you. No research needed. What I do recommend that you research is how to create an effective thumbnail. Google Help, which is once again owned by YouTube, YouTube's owned by Google. You want to look at their help section, take their tips because they aren't giving those for no reason. They know what works. So take those and use them because it's a free resource. Start free, start testing.
There you go. Thank you, Erica. And thank you, Betsy, for putting in the chat that she uses Fiverr for those. I know that's another good paid but cost-effective resource for that. Sorry, we got all these questions rolling. We have another one that's related to demographics that actually segues well into what we're going to ask Erica next. So I think we'll get that answered here. So we talk about some of the best practices for posting, but if you are ready for ads now, when it comes to both YouTube and Facebook, what's involved in creating an effective targeting strategy? And how can advisors be leveraging these to better understand and engage with that audience? So again, it's not just about putting it up there and leaving it, but engaging with that audience.
I think it's starting with understanding who your ideal prospect is. You need to understand who is your favorite client currently. And do you want more people like that favorite client? You want to build your audience around that. Think of the things that make them stand out. Okay, are they married? Are they single? Do you prefer a business owner or someone with a W-2? Do you prefer someone that is local to you? Do you prefer someone that is virtual? All of these items help with targeting because when you actually go into these platforms like YouTube and Facebook, it will ask you these demographics. So it will ask that, are you targeting people who are married? Are you targeting divorcees, widows, widowers? Are you looking to target locally within a 30-mile radius, let's say? Are you looking to go worldwide? Are you looking to go nationwide or just within the tri-state area? Little things like that will help you understand who you are looking for first. So before you want to jump into those ads, you want to make sure that you know who you're looking for. There are so many other things that could go into it. You want, as financial advisors, we want to know what their career is. Do you prefer working with medical professionals like doctors and nurses, or do you prefer teachers, people with a pension? Once you understand all of these topics and aspects, you can then understand what you're looking for, and then you can target them on any platform because typically they ask all the same questions. They may be phrased differently, they may be in different places, but it truly is all the same. So you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know your ideal client, you won't know how to target them.
No, I'm glad you said that, Erica, because it really does. It shouldn't be that different than who you're targeting. If you're defining your target market in your business plan or your sales and marketing plan, but making sure you use that, but then going in, as Erica mentioned, use the tools they have because both YouTube and Facebook and really any digital ad platform you're using is going to have different tools for different things they can use for targeting. And some are more specific than others, but Erica, I know I'm putting that on the spot, but I don't know if you think of a good example between Facebook and YouTube of things that are different in terms of the targeting tools that they have?
One thing that is very specific and very different, which I find interesting in targeting, is people that have interacted with certain pages. So with YouTube, you can actually target people who have interacted with websites that you're interested in or your competitors' websites. With Facebook, you can't really do that. You can't type in that URL. That's a big one, in my opinion.
No,
It's
thank
really
you.
valuable. As Erica was saying, if you're targeting the medical field, you can go after the AMA organization, right, and put that URL in, and anybody that's visited that website will be served your ad. Well, not everybody, but would increase the probability. So think about that. You even think about, frankly, if anyone that's engaged with the agency, we always ask about your competitors. And if you say that it's Edward Jones or somebody, you can absolutely put in a competitor, and anyone that's going to Edward Jones would be also have a higher propensity of seeing your ads. Make sure that you're targeting and you really understand, especially the associations or the Chamber of Commerce, if you're going after business owners. So think about where is your audience going and what are their interests, and you can emulate that or repeat their URL to target those individuals, which is, to me, very useful.
And thank you, Chelsea, in the chat, who put some of the, and Tim, who put some of the thumbnails from Dave that we mentioned earlier. And even using Dave as an example, just because we've brought him up already, I think another tip to share, it's not quite the demographic side, but in terms of viewership of your videos, is timeliness. So when you're covering a topic, the sooner you can get out there sharing updates on that, the better. So we work with Dave, and Dave's very good at that, of being one first for one of those. But when you're sharing that timely topic, it's using those keywords that Erica led with on making sure you use those popular keywords in the title, not just the description, because that's what people are going to find as they're searching. So as you look through some of those thumbnails, and if you were to go to Dave's page or our C2P page on YouTube, you'll see how both the thumbnail and keywords that we're mentioning are positioned there. Carrie, Erica got us started there with kind of the framework of best practices. One thing I know that we talk to companies about when doing digital ads is retargeting. So I guess at the very start of that is, for those that aren't familiar, what is retargeting and how does it work?
Yeah, retargeting is simply serving a communication, ideally an ad in this particular case, to users that have previously interacted with you. And what does that mean when I say you? It could be your website. It could be your app, could be your Facebook page of your followers. It could be somebody that frankly attended one of your events and now you have a large list and I want to serve them a message because they've already interacted with us. So retargeting is really a trigger based on somebody that you have already targeted, perhaps, and already engaged with you in some way. There's lots of ways that can be done just at a high level. And from a website, there's something called a pixel or a cookie that's dropped on and follows them along until they clear it or until Google said you can't use that anymore. And you can even, based on someone's behavior, you can even serve them a different ad. So if you knew that this group that you just came to a webinar from you and you had a great turnout, and let's just say there's 1,000 people, you upload basically the emails and you can serve a very specific ad to those 1,000 people, opposed to if you're running a different ad or a different audience that hasn't engaged with you, you can run a different ad. We call that dynamic ads, serving different ads or experiences based on somebody's interaction with you. And again, think about that as a nurture. So we've talked often about emails. When somebody comes to a webinar, let's make sure we send them 2 or 3 emails. Let's get them on your newsletters. Let's get them on your phone calls. Let's get them on market commentary. But also, if you have a large enough population, let's retarget them from a social perspective or from a digital perspective. So that's what retargeting is.
Yeah, thank you. And that's the best way to look at it, is it's part of your nurture sequence for them. They might, when they saw your first message, whether that was your website or your other social channels, because you can retarget off both a website or social, they might not have been ready to take that action now, but maybe down the line. We also know from a sales perspective that people need to see that your message, they used to say 7 times. I've seen as lately it's 10 to 14 times before they're taking action. Retargeting is something that's somewhat easy to build into your mix. It can be cost effective as well. to make sure you're keeping your message in front of them, and especially from a video standpoint. If anyone is ready to move forward with that, Carrie, and I guess Erica too, I'll let you both chime in. But Carrie, if you want to go first, what are some of the best practices for retargeting?
So again, really understand where they are in your, well, say, sales process, for lack of a better word. So one effective way is, let's say you have a page of content that someone wants to download a guide or an ebook. Okay. But they go to that page, they go to the form, but they don't actually submit their information. What could you potentially do? If you have enough of an audience, you can go after them and encourage them through ads and other communications to take the next step on learning about Medicare, Social Security, or whatever said topic is. So you know exactly where in your website they left you. Again, if you see somebody that came to a particular page that wanted to learn about life insurance or wanted to understand the bucket plan, and that's the last page they were on, you can certainly serve them an ad about the bucket plan. Again, focus on the issues opposed to the solutions, but you get the idea there. Conversely, you can also exclude individuals. So you may say, boy, I want to run a prospect effort, but I don't want to reach my current clients. You can upload that email list of your current clients to make sure you're not sending a message or spending time reaching individuals that you no longer want to reach. So there's our exclusion list. Also, retargeting, I would suggest capping the number of ads that are served to somebody. So within Facebook and other mediums, you may often see, I am so tired, it's called ad fatigue, seeing the same ad or the same company over and over. And what do? Is you click and say, don't serve this ad to me anymore. That's bad, right? And put a cap on that. I don't care if that's probably 2 times a day, 7 to 10 times a week, but put some type of cap. That not only alleviates ad fatigue, it also saves your budget, right? So if someone's not taking action, quit serving them ads. So do more of a drip versus a blitz on them. Eric, I know you have some other thoughts on probably some retargeting. I know we've done some of that. If you want to share your thoughts.
For sure. I want to mention back to exclusion lists because I think it's incredibly important. With exclusion lists, there's also something called negative keywords, where keywords are the things that we want to target. Negative keywords are the things we don't want to target, obviously. I want to use one of our current advisors as an example. Let's think of Hartford Financial Group. They have a competitor quite close to them, actually, that is, I believe, Hartford Retirement Specialist. Now, if I were to recommend an ad for Hartford, I wouldn't recommend that they target their own name as a keyword. I would actually recommend that they target a negative keyword for their competitor. Because if someone's already looking for Hartford Financial Group, they already know who they are. They may already want to take an action. However, if they're looking for retirement specialists near me in Hartford, they may see the other group using their ad dollars. So what you want to do is use a negative keyword on your exclusion list and put your competitor in there, even though they have a similar name to you. We don't want to cannibalize our own dollars. We want them to be used for ourselves. So that's super important. Another thing that you can use is a lookalike audience. So like Carrie mentioned earlier, with the list of webinar attendees that you had, if we had a lower amount of attendees, but we still wanted to target the people who didn't go to that webinar and we retarget them with a different webinar, we can use that list to retarget them for the new ad. With that being said, you want to also make sure that you're checking your time windows, or in other apps, they're called conversion windows. Those windows could be 7 days, 15 days, and 30 days. And we want them to basically convert within a certain amount of time. Otherwise, they go out of the life cycle of when we want them to actually become a prospect. So depending on what your goals are, you want to adjust those dates and make sure that they're actually being used, because that will affect your conversion rates as well as your numbers overall if you count CPL, which is cost per lead, or your cost per click, because we want to make sure that even though they're clicking on it and coming back to it 31 days later, there's still a conversion. So if you're not going over that 45-day mark, if it's available, they will act as a new client, not as an old one.
I'm sorry, I wanted to chime in just because you had mentioned the lookalike audience, because I did want to call attention to that, as I think that's a very powerful one for advisors, especially the way you can use that is, like Erica said, is it's a lookalike to an existing list that you're uploading. So you can take the characteristics of your best clients or prospects and upload that to look for individuals that are like that. And so it can be a very powerful tool. And that's a big reason why we recommend starting with retargeting and why it's a cost-effective option at finding leads. That's something, if you're not doing that now, or you want to talk to our team, Carrie and Erica, please, I'd highly recommend looking at the lookalike audience, but retargeting in general on that. I also noticed we've gotten so many questions and so much great content. We're actually up at time, but real quick, I'll go, if you want to do one more, Erica and Carrie, just one final tip or one takeaway that you want to leave with our audience before we wrap today. Erica?
For sure. One thing I can recommend is that even if you're not comfortable with running ads, go organic. Make sure that your presence is known on social media. As we mentioned earlier, YouTube comments are off currently if you're with PCA. That doesn't mean that you can't cross post those YouTube videos on Facebook and Instagram. And then when people comment on there, you can reply to them on those platforms. So make sure you're utilizing every weapon in your arsenal. Make sure you're using your YouTube, your Facebook, your Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Just use them all. Stay engaged and stay connected.
Thank you, Carrie.
There's a ton of tactics that not only did we mention today, but in previous sessions. And I want to just reemphasize, give it a chance, let things run more than a week, let things run multiple times. It's only a failure if you run and didn't learn anything from it. And my learning is not it didn't work, is what aspect it did work and how do I develop that? So to me, if you didn't fail, you didn't try hard enough. So it means that you have to have kind of a continuous learning mentality and give it time to bake. What happens in one market is very different from another market. And everybody that I meet with says, my market is so unique. That's the beauty of having all of these tactics, is figure out which lever you can press and give it time to percolate. And I'm sure one of these will certainly see some results from you.
Thank you again, Carrie and Erica, for joining us and sharing your thought leadership on this. I know there's even more that we can share probably in a future episode. If you have any questions on these topics, please feel free to send them into our team at C2P or Carrie and myself specifically. A reminder, next week, we do not have a coffee break, but we will return then on September 19th. Until then, have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in. This podcast was brought to you by C2P, an organization whose purpose is to educate, train, grow, and support holistic financial advisors so families can achieve true prosperity. Never miss an episode by subscribing now to discover new resources and strategies. Visit c2penterprises.com to learn how we can help scale and secure your business. At the time of delivery and any subsequent publishing, information was deemed reliable, but is subject to change by the time of listening or viewing. The contents of this piece include options and projections of C2P, are subject to change, and are for informational purposes only. The information provided in this presentation is not intended to be individual investment, tax, or legal advice.